Third, we have Project L Square One, which is a standalone sequel to the game Project L, which is a game that a ton of people love. And it's a game where you're going to be trying to complete different objective cards by getting different polyominoes and filling in the spaces of those cards. The cool thing about this game is that it is a bit of an engine builder, because anytime that you complete a card, you actually get all your polyominoes back, and then you can reuse them in following objectives. This new version of the game doesn't exactly use polyominoes like the original. Instead, you're going to be using these tokens that actually have different polyominoes printed on them. But before I get into explaining how this game plays, I'll first let you know how the original game played, because there are a lot of similarities here, and I did already cover the original in a previous video, so I'll just go ahead and roll that previous footage for you now. And this is a polyomino tile placement game where players are going to be competing to complete different shapes, starting with just 2 tiles to their name. But then throughout the game, as you're completing new shapes, you'll actually gain new polyominoes, but then you'll also be able to reuse the ones that you used in any of the shapes that you've already completed. This means that you'll actually be building a little bit of an engine that's going to open up new shapes to you to build, and as you gain more, of course, you'll be able to complete those bigger shapes. This new expansion is going to be adding new shapes into the game, but these are going to be appearing later in the game, and they are designed for the purpose to allow those smaller shapes to still be useful even in the late game. Not only that, but this also expands the player count to 6 players, and as I mentioned, this isn't the only expansion for this game, and I did cover the previous expansion and this game in the past in the previous campaign, so if you want to know even more details, I'll just go ahead and roll that footage for you now. And Project L is a fast-paced engine-building strategy game where you're completing puzzles to earn points. Each puzzle that you complete is going to earn you more pieces to complete harder puzzles, but then the pieces you use to complete those puzzles you also get to keep. So you can see how this builds your engine as the game progresses. You're going to want to be optimizing your actions better than your opponents so that you can complete harder puzzles at the end of the game. If you can build up a sufficient engine of pieces for completing multiple puzzles at once, you can actually unleash the master action, which lets you put a piece on all your puzzles with only one action. This campaign is also going to offer the Finesse expansion, which is going to add some extra objectives to the game, and when you complete those, you earn yourself some coins, which you can spend to perform extra actions on your turn. Now that you know how the original Project L plays, this one plays very similar to that, except there's going to be a few small differences. Basically, in this one, you're still going to be trying to complete these different objective cards, and on a turn, you'll be able to take 3 actions in order to try and do that. One of those actions could be to draft a new objective card into your tableau to try and complete, but how you actually get the tokens to complete that objective is with the next action, which is just to take a yellow token into your supply. And these yellow tokens have a single square on them, and they're basically the building blocks of any other token that you need in this game, and they're the only ones that you're able to get directly from the supply. Because if you need one of these green tokens, which has 2 squares, or this orange one that has 4, you actually have to combine other tokens together by using one of your other actions, which is the join action. So if you want to get this green one, you'd first have to get 2 yellow tokens, and then use the join action to trade those in for a green. There's also an action that allows you to split tokens into their smaller counterparts, and then there's also an action to, of course, place them out on your board. And anytime you're doing that, you always have to place them from top to bottom, and once you do complete one of these boards, you have the option to cash it in for the victory points outlined on that board, but you do need to use an action in order to do so. And you can cash in multiple boards at once with a single action, so it is more efficient for you to do it that way. And also this could earn you some bonus victory points because there's going to be a limited supply of these tokens, and whichever players are able to complete 2, 3, or 4 boards in a single action are going to be taking those tokens first. So there is a little bit of race going on here, trying to get those tokens while also trying to complete your boards in order to have the most victory points once the game ends. Just like with the original version of this game, any of the tokens that you use to complete an objective do come back to you once you cash them in, so there is that pressure there as well to try and do all of this quickly so that the other players aren't taking the objective boards that you want and just completing a ton of boards for victory points while you're trying to get a set of 4. If this one sounds interesting to you, you'll probably want to know that there's also going to be some expansions offered in the campaign as well, and as always, I do have a link to the campaign down in the description below.